The Zone of Darkness is one of the most nightmarish realms within the BIONICLE universe, but what exactly is it? How can it be reached? And what, if anything, dwells there? Let's find out. The Zone of Darkness, also sometimes known as the Field of Shadows, perhaps to avoid confusion with the similarly named Nightmare Zone in Chamber of Life on Voinui, was a pocket dimension that came into existence when the BIONICLE universe was created by the Great Beings. As the name suggests, the Zone of Darkness was completely devoid of any light. It existed in the same space-time continuum as the large universe in which it was contained, but as per its own laws, light could not travel through it and could not function, rendering Kanohi such as the Ruru and even a Mask of Light merely as useless trinkets. The exact size of the Zone of Darkness is unknown. It was perhaps even limitless, but what we do know is that nothing grew there, and its floor was flat and made of stone. The only two known ways to access the Zone of Darkness was via the use of the Kanohi Ormak, such as the one worn by Brutaka, or the Ratuka of a Kargarak, which was a large and powerful variant of Visorak. This Ratuka could also suck into the Zone of Darkness anything it collided with. So what exactly is in the Zone of Darkness? Well, it is perhaps the most known to be the abode of a creature called the Zevon, which, like all other Rahi, was created by the Makuta and placed in the zone by them. It is the only one of its kind, and could be summoned by the Ratuka of a Kargarak, being called upon on one occasion by Sidorak as he attempted to destroy the Toa Hordika. The former inhabitant of the Zone of Darkness was a Tartarak, namely the one that menaced Metchnui when Brutaka released it into the city using his Kanohi Ormak. After rampaging around Garmetru, the Tartarak was locked in the archives, where it slumbered deep in the so-called Fiku Web, which was a series of intricate maintenance shafts and tunnels that ran underneath the city. It would later be awakened by the Toa Metru's battle with a shape-shifting Rahi known as Kraka, who we will get back to shortly. Anyway, the Tartarak tore its way up to the surface, ending up in Tar Metru, where it started demanding the answer. The Tartarak was defeated by the Toa Metru by weakening the earth on which it stood after they fired their Kanoka launchers at the ground. The creature was once again sent back to the subterranean levels of the city, where it would go undisturbed until Toa Aniwa and Pooks of the Rahaga allied with Kraka and sought out the Tartarak in an attempt to get the creature's help in defeating Rudaka and the Visorak Horde. Kraka managed to convince the Tartarak to ally with them by telling them that it was the Visorak that actually had the answer to its question. In what may be one of the most epic battles to have occurred in the BIONICLE storyline, the Zevon was unleashed from the Zone of Darkness by a Kargarak and fought the Toa, Kraka and the Tartarak at the Tower of Toa. The battle only came to an end when the Kargarak attempted to banish the Tartarak into the Zone of Darkness by firing its Ratuka at the creature. However, Kraka noticed what the Kargarak was trying to do and so rammed itself into the Zevon, causing all three of the creatures to be in contact when the Kargarak's Ratuka struck. They were all thus sent into the zone, which Kraka and the Tartarak would only manage to escape from 1,000 years later when they found their way through a dimensional gate opened by Brutaka as he fought Axon on Voinui. Kraka would find its way back home to Metchnui, while the Tartarak would stay on Voinui, where it continued to wreak havoc as it found itself in yet another clash with a terrifying monster, this time with the dragon Karadas. After the battle was over, Axon concluded that the Tartarak was too dangerous to be left on Voinui, and so asked Botar to transport it off the island. Seemingly for his own amusement, Botar dropped the Tartarak onto the island of Zia, whose vortex inhabitants would release the Kanohi dragon in order to stop it. With some help from the Toa Haga, the Tartarak was eventually brought down and restrained, and the creature would go on to leave the Matoran universe and live out its days on Spheris Magna. The ultimate fate of the Zone of Darkness is unclear. One could reasonably assume it blinked out of existence when the Matoran universe to which it was tied was dismantled. Some Kargarak did actually survive and flee to the restored Spheris Magna to live out their lives as wild species, so perhaps their Ratuka power was nullified when this happened. By the same logic, the Kanohi Ormak would also be unable to open a portal to the Zone of Darkness once its parent universe was destroyed, but with the myriad alternate dimensions and timelines that exist within the BIONICLE story, perhaps the Zevon still slumbers in its dark abode, nursing its wounds, waiting to be unleashed once more. And that sums up really all we know about the Zone of Darkness, but my question to you is, do you think the Zone of Darkness may still exist, or do you think it ceased to be, along with the Matoran universe? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time.